Bonjour, and here we are for week 7, month 2, with extra keys to sound like a French speaker. This is the second part of our pronunciation, and we are going to cover the common letter combinations. We are going to cover the final letters in French, and I know you've already submitted some speaking practice, so you'll have already probably heard me point out a few silent letters that are placed as the final letter in French. We will practice some liaison, which is linking between two words. And finally, a bit more advanced rule in terms of intonation and rhythm, but we will keep this at a beginner's level for now. Part 1. So when you have two letter combinations, you could have CU, which will sound like K in accueil, or GU, which will sound like G in go, guerre, or TH, which will sound like T in théâtre, or GN, which will sound like ni in onion, or N in onion, montagne. Je répète, accueil, guerre, théâtre, montagne. 3+ letter combinations. We have ELL. This one, I have a whole video on it, so let me know if you'd like to see a longer list with lots of examples to practice this one. It sounds like Y in yes. Famille, famille. IER, it's a combination of the sound I followed by E. Calendrier. Then we have OIN, which is a combination of O, then un, oin, loin, and TION, ou 2SION, which will combine si followed by un, that nasal sound, un. Passion, nation. Make sure you have that as your final one. A lot of these words look like their English counterparts. They are cognates, and meaning when you look at them, you know the meaning. However, that's usually when the pronunciation gets tricky. So passion, you're going to be tempted to say nation the English way whenever you see those words. So it's good to just remind your brain, I'm reading a French word here. Great, I know what it means already. However, let me pronounce it with the pronunciation rules here. So remember, both sounds will make the same sound, si, sion, sion. Final letters. The general rule is that if there's a letter in final position in French, the last letter of the word, you don't pronounce it. That's a little bit too simple. It's going to depend on the final letter. So if the final letter of the word is you will not sound it. Sample words are salade, voyage. When I say you don't sound it, it means that if the word ended with a D, that's the only sound you'll hear. Salade, that's the last final sound I make. Voyage, that's the last sound I make. If the final letter of the word is a consonant, for most consonants, you will not make a sound for it. For example, art, différent, d'accord, délicieux, table. Art, différent, d'accord, délicieux, table. You can see all of those red letters are not pronounced. There are a few that are pronounced, and they can all be found in the word careful. The C, the R, the F, the L are all consonants that you can try put together in this little helpful word. All the consonants in the word careful are the ones where we call exceptions. They are contradicting our rule, which has been so far not to pronounce the silent letter. In this case, you will say them 90% of the time. Par exemple, with C, we have avec, sac, lac. With R, we have soir, par, pour. With F, we have neuf, soif. And with L, we have avril, il, mal. Je répète. Salade, voyage, art, différent, d'accord, délicieux, table. Avec, sac, lac, soir, par, pour, neuf, soif, avril, il, mal. In terms of liaison, linking words in French for flowing effect. The flow in French is paramount. We will add rules in terms of spelling or grammar just to keep that flow of the French language. I always joke that the French are very, very proud of the sound of the language, and they will keep the sound above a logical rule, and they will break any rule they can. If it just sounds better, they'll go with that. So linking words with la liaison, which is the effect of linking two words. Words ending with a consonant. We've seen that we don't pronounce them for most of them with the sound like that consonant in a liaison. So how it works. C'est un, it is a. C'est un will become c'est un. Un enfant will have an N sound. Un enfant. C'est un enfant will become c'est un enfant. C'est un enfant. It is a child. Linking words with la liaison, if you have a word that ends with a silent letter, like nous, followed by a word that starts with a vowel or the letter H. Here we have a. The silent S will be triggered in the liaison when you have a subject followed by a verb or a pronoun followed by a noun. You will have that S become a Z sound, like a Z. Nous avons. Nous avons. Nous avons. When words end with an S, there are quite a lot. Some few less with X and a few less with Z. But this is how they're going to sound. Les amoureux, which means the lovers, will become les amoureux. Les amoureux. You are here. Vous êtes ici will become double Z liaison because we have an S into an E and another S into an I. Vous êtes ici. Vous êtes ici. And with an X, you have deux followed by en, which will become 2 ans. 2 ans. If a word ends with D, like grand, followed by, that would be a silent D, followed by a word that starts with a vowel, A, E, I, O, U, Y, as well as H, because that's the letter that we ignore in French. So the next sound will always be a vowel. All of those will trigger that D into a liaison. The D will become a T sound, like a T. So you'll get un grand arbre, if I separate them, with a liaison, un grand arbre. Un grand arbre. When you link words with the letter F, the sound you make with the next word will become a V sound, like a V. If you separate it, you would say 9 heures. Together, 9 heures. It's much easier to say, in fact, with the V. 9 heures. And that's it for liaison. In terms of intonation and rhythm, we are on to our last final section. It's super easy. Intonation in French always goes onto this final syllable. Note that French intonation is all about the duration of the sound, not the intensity. And if you know Spanish, it is about the intensity. And in a way, English is too. And you have different intonation, and it's about highlighting one bit, whereas in French, it's just about making it a tad longer, a little incy bit longer. So the intonation is placed within word groups. So we can have it in words, but when we speak in sentences. And we often speak in long sentences. So it's important to identify which words of the sentence go together, and that last syllable is the one that you're going to elongate a little bit. For example, my grandmother goes to the, all in O, market every Saturday. Ma grand-mère va au marché tous les samedis. So you would have syllables. Ma grand-mère, and it's on the mère that I elongate. Va au marché, that one's a bit longer. The chez. Tous les samedis, and it's on the di that I insist a bit. In word groups, we call them groupe rythmique for pronunciation's sake. Make sure to place the accent on the final syllable of each group. So it's not always in sentences. This is going to make us practice smaller to bigger group. Par exemple, bonjour. Let me start again. Bonjour. Bonjour Jean. Bonjour voisin. Bonjour mon cher Jean. Can you hear the extra intonation on that last bit? Bonjour. Bonjour Jean. Bonjour voisin. Bonjour mon cher Jean. And they are group rythmique, and I've built them up so you can see it can be small or big, but always on the final syllable. Nice, easy rule for you to follow. Voila, voila. The more words you absorb over time, the quicker these rules will become second nature for you. So make sure to always read out loud to allow yourself to question, do I apply this rule here? Is this one of the exceptions? Can I remember what this letter plus this letter means in terms of combination of letters, etc.? Make sure you work on all of those. So this is a summary of what we've covered. Part 1, vowels, accents, combined vowels and consonants, as well as our nasal sounds. And today in part 2, the letter combinations, the final letters, liaison, intonation, and rhythm. Voilà, mes amis. Bravo et bonne continuation. À la prochaine vidéo.